Episode 205 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded October 17th, 2018. Fall Superheroes 2, Book of EJ, Age of CW. There's a colon in it?
Yeah.
It's biology.
So here's the thing. Black Lightning, a show I quite like, has the most ridiculous titles ever.
They really do.
And this season it is Book of Consequences.
Every episode, it's actually gotten more coherent this season. It's Book of Consequences, and then something else.
Yeah. So we decided for this Fall Superheroes. This time last year, we did the Fall Superheroes, which was all talking about the CW and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And our patron EJ, who likes to torment me, did the level where you can pick a show we have to discuss, and that show is Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ooh, and he knows that we don't like watching that show.
And then it happened that a lot of the CW shows, some superheroes, some not, were coming back. So we folded that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode as the precursor to our CW episode.
I think it works out because EJ likes a bunch of superhero shows anyway.
Yeah. And to help us discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we brought in a Sherpa who's actually kept up with the show and doesn't hate it as much as me and Les. And that Sherpa is Paul Benjamin.
Hey, everybody.
Howdy.
Hey,
Thanks
EJ,
for joining us.
EJ, next time when you make your requests, you should request a compare and contrast of Alias the TV show, Jessica Jones the TV show and Alias the comic. So Randy has to talk about his love of the writer of the comic book.
Okay, but that's a trick because I actually love both of those things, even though I hate Bendis.
Well, we can just talk about what I love about all the Bendis books.
So we should just become the comic dudes and talk about Bendis.
Yes, Let's do that every episode.
We're going to call that Bend It Like Bendis. That's the name of the episode.
Book of Bendis, Bendis. Bend It Like Bendis, apostrophe, Bendis sucks.
Wow.
Harsh.
Yeah, a little preview for you guys for the Patreon episode or whatever. I don't know.
Well, and this is what I love about Randy is he always reminds me, no matter what I worry about with my writing, I can't ever please everybody. Because a lot of people like Bendis' work, but not Randy Lander.
That's correct.
Yeah. Randy reminds all of us that there's some people out there that are just unlovable.
That's true. Yep. Hateful, spiteful people.
Yes, folks. So we have a ton of shows that we're talking about, mainly CW shows, but also our premiere show that we have to discuss
We're
by law.
contractually obligated.
Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is on season 87 or some shit like that.
Season 5.
Are you kidding? It's only 5 seasons?
Just finished season 5.
It just feels like 87 seasons.
How does it feel like it's been so many more seasons?
Well, they break up seasons, right? You get like a half a season, and then there's a big break, and then there's another half a season.
First half of 5 is in space, but also forward in time, and then the second half is back on Earth, but back
believe
in the past.
that.
Also,
it's all the time travel. It makes it feel longer.
Yeah, and also
And
they
the
change
pacing.
premises 6 or 7 times, so it feels like a different show every time.
We're also going to be talking about Black Lightning, Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and then some new shows over on CW, All American and Charmed, and then we're going to wrap up with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So we have so many CW shows to talk about.
Yep.
And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is on ABC or Fox or something.
That's leading it all off.
It's ABC's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
ABC's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
colon
it's ABC's.
Book of EJ.
But yeah, we have Paul Benjamin here joining us. Paul, where do people know you from?
Well, people might know me from my supermodeling career, and you've all seen the ads. I don't like to talk about that. It's too obvious, right? You look at me and you're like, clearly.
It's very tasteful.
I wouldn't say that.
No, it was Very Tasteful magazine.
Oh, quit licking it. It's weird.
Wow, that took a dark turn.
Yes, it did.
And I'm not even surprised. I've written lots of Marvel comics. I've written Hulk, Spider-Man, Wolverine. I've written a lot of video games. I did some work on the Marvel Heroes MMO, G.I. Joe, Spider-Man, Web of Shadows back in the day, Wolverine, the X-Men Origins. I worked on G.I. Joe, all kinds of stuff. Now I'm working for Daybreak Games. They do the DC Universe online MMO, but I'm working on a different unannounced game. I've written lots of comics, recently some Disney Princess comics. You look at me and you think Disney Princess, I understand.
Yeah, and Marvel.
And World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Star Trek, Muppets, Monsters, Inc., all kinds of comic book stuff.
So you dabble in geekology, it seems.
I definitely dabble.
Yeah, it seems maybe you might have a legitimate bona fide geek card. You also seem to have a bit of a sadist card because for some reason you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, that's not sadistic. That's masochistic.
Masochist.
Yeah, let's be clear.
EJ has a sadistic card because he keeps doing this to us.
This is true. You have a masochistic streak. So yeah, I'm very interested to hear how much better that show's gotten because I'm sure it can only go upward. But before we get into all of that, folks, want to do quick plugs. Reminder that we are on patreon.com/TV dudes. And, you know, this is probably the best time to remind you guys of that because if you want to torture us as well, you guys can go there, make a per episode pledge. We have a couple different tiers. And if you go into that Make Randy Cringe tier, you can actually pledge an amount that will have us do a dedicated episode to a show of your choosing. And either we will discuss that show or we'll pass the buck and bring someone else in to do it.
If you do a pledge for The Good Place, I will happily come back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we got that one covered.
That's the only reason we would ever talk about that show. So please give us
that's
money.
true. Yeah, we would never talk about Good Place without that.
I think that's like the only show I did watch this week. So I don't know what I'm going to be talking about this week. Yeah, and so once again, that's patreon.com/TV dudes. And then also, we are proud members of the Electric Sweater Network.
Electric Sweater!
Formerly Permanent Record.
Permanent Record.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't know the song.
Please go check out electricsweater.com where you can find a gaggle of our sister podcasts that all deal with TV-related themes. Yeah, and news time, Randy. I think it's time for the news.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, Randy, I'm like queuing you up to talk about the news, and guess what I didn't do?
Send me any news.
Send you the news. Fuck. That means I have to do it. All right, guys. So the first story is actually CW related. Superman is reportedly getting his very own TV show on the CW.
That's crazy.
Are they going to use Tyler Hoechlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to use, this guy
All right.
on this picture. Who's
That's
already been making some little cameos in the other shows.
Yeah, he's been Superman already.
That's really interesting. I like him as Superman. I liked his Clark Kent. I am surprised that they're doing it.
Because he's not like a bigot like Dean Cain.
Starting to feel like a lot of the CW is just this kind of weird middle finger. We're going to do what we want to WBDC.
Yeah, I
Because it
think
just
so.
seems like they're. Whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tries to seem to like stay out of the way of the major Marvel universe, like not use things that are going to come
Right.
up directly. And it seems like CW is like, y'all are doing Superman? No, we're doing Superman too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we got.
Well, or, you're doing Dark Superman? Well, we're going to do a fun Superman.
Yeah.
We're going to do like Superman.
Yeah. Well, just wait till next year when they release their Aquaman show.
It would not surprise me at this point.
Our next story is that Orange is the New Black is finally ending with season 7.
Which is why Aquaman is wearing the black shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
signaling
Orange is the new
that.
black.
Yeah.
And black is the new orange. It works both ways.
Is it? Yeah.
But it's interesting. They reported this as like Orange is the New Black is canceled, and I'm like, guys, it's 7 seasons. You're not canceled. You're just
Yeah.
ending the show.
Yeah,
No,
you're just saying, hey, our show was really good. Let's stop now.
I still like Orange is the New Black. I watched the latest season. I was happy with it. I was also kind of happy with this news because I feel like it's a show that probably doesn't need to keep going.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad they got another season to run down some threads off of the last season, but I don't want them to fall into a trap of having to kind of keep reinventing this thing to keep it going.
I hope in the news.
I would like to see a big all-female show take its place.
Yeah.
I hope that in the
Glow.
news. I hope in the new
great.
season the Litchfield prison falls through a wormhole and it all takes place in space.
I'm done with it.
only if the sets look kind of cheap.
Yeah.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
Or Inhumans. What are they doing with those Inhuman sets?
Yeah, just put it. Just Orange is the
Were there
Black
sets
season
for
7.
that?
Put it in there.
Maybe that was just CG
They just
walls.
took the cameras away, and whoever lived there kept living there.
It's just a green corner of a room.
It's one producer's house. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
That's what I'm saying.
Our last story is that Iron Fist got canceled last
Who
week.
could have seen that coming?
And the best part about this is that Randy apparently started a fan petition to try and bring back the series.
I did not start that
Randy,
petition.
what are you doing?
Nope. I did think it was funny that I was watching my Facebook feed and my friends list, and people were upset about this.
Really?
Yeah. All of a sudden they were like, "Oh, but it just got good," and I'm like,
No, it didn't.
"No, it got better."
Right. Better is not the
That's
same.
not
as
the same
good.
To
thing.
the end of the new season of Iron Fist, and what I watched was somebody get into a big fight, and for the climax use of the Iron Fist, they punched the floor.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I've seen done with the Iron Fist, pretty much on the whole show.
He punched a truck.
He
Yeah,
did punch a truck in the first episode.
It just always seems like
After sidestepping the truck, he punched the truck in the side. I was like, why didn't you punch the truck in the face?
That'll teach a truck.
it's so. They just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the question is, why did they cancel it? Because it's not because it's bad, because that wouldn't stop them from doing that. Is it? Are they going to do a Power Man Iron Fist? Is it because they're going to drag all those IP back to Disney streaming?
From what I read, it just didn't get the numbers that
Oh.
the previous season didn't get great numbers, and a lot of people just didn't bother coming back.
Interesting.
Yeah, the hope is that the new hotly anticipated Disney Play, which is their new streaming channel they're going to be coming out with, they're already greenlighting some other shows. So maybe canceling some of these that are not the official canon vision of the MCU allows them to maybe transition to rebooting these officially in the MCU.
I
Yeah,
got a pitch for you guys.
They've already talked about not having them, like the
Yeah.
Netflix deal. They don't want any of their other outside deals to continue because they want to have everything on their own streaming service. Right?
That makes sense, man. Remember they they own nothing. They sold all of their shit.
Yeah. And they're bringing it all back home because, of course, they are. Because now they can do something with it.
Now they own half the planet.
Okay, I got a pitch for you guys.
Okay.
Mulan and Iron Fist. Power Man and Stitch.
Power Man and Stitch, I'm down with.
I would watch Power Man and Stitch.
Mulan, Mulan and Iron Fist, all right.
Mulan and Colleen Wing.
Mulan and Colleen Wing, I will watch the shit out of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As a Disney princess writer and a person who has written a lot of Marvel stuff, I would write a Mulan and Colleen Wing series if anybody is out there looking for that.
I feel like people are noticing, oh my God, Iron Fist is the first one of these to be canceled. But they were really fast to say, oh, there's no plans for another Defenders. Don't worry about it. That was
Yeah.
but because they could couch that as like, well, this was always a one-off thing. Like, you guys would have done another one of those in a heartbeat
If it'd been
next year if it
successful.
had been successful.
Yeah.
The Defenders didn't do the numbers either, I don't think. And Netflix is weirdly cagey with their numbers. But yeah,
The other weird thing
Iron
is
Fist going away did not shock me.
the other weird thing is Netflix doesn't need Marvel. Netflix has so much content.
Neither needs the other. In fact, they're now squaring up to be direct competitors.
Yeah,
Right. And I think that's what you're looking at, right?
Yeah,
they're
I
gonna,
agree.
They're going to start splitting off as much as
I've
they
also
can.
progressively not liked each of the Netflix Marvel shows as they've gone forward. Like, all of them have arced down and down and down.
Same.
And
It'll be very interesting to see how Daredevil 3
I was
is.
going to say,
just
I
don't
kind of like
care.
Daredevil 2 in a lot. There were a lot of things I liked better about
And this
it.
third one seems kind of cool.
Well,
Wow.
next week we're talking Daredevil 3.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I
I'm just
got
not.
binge.
I totally skipped Punisher. I don't care about Daredevil 3. Like, I kind of wish they would just stop, move to the Disney Netflix, and reboot these properties.
Me too.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
not Disney Netflix, whatever Disney's doing instead of Netflix.
yeah, actually own them instead of being embarrassed by everything that ABC did with the Marvel project.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're going to be right back to talk about that glowingly. the order in which we're going to discuss these shows. We're going to kick things off with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then we're going to hit up Black Lightning, Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, All-American, Charmed, and then wrap things up with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. But, as we noted at the top of the show, this is a special request episode. EJ, our dear benevolent patron, demanded that we watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or at least discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's a Patreon exclusive.
Patreon exclusive.
And as you all know, this is its somehow only 5th season, the longest running slog of a show. And I think they're in space, or are they done with the space arc?
Oh no,
They
they're
were
back
in space in the future.
Yes.
ABC's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. : Book of Space / they're time travelers now.
Yeah, life
Well,
model
except for once
decoys.
they went back. They then got back to Earth
Yes.
later in the
Yeah.
season.
So-
in the present
The
day.
season was like 2 pods, like 2 halves, right?
So can we
Yeah.
quick run down, just real quick, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the basics. So season 1 was versus Centipede and then they did the mid-season flip of Hydra.
Yeah,
Yep.
because they had to tie into Civil War. Or no,
Yeah, no,
Fallen Winter Soldier, right?
Winter Soldier.
Season 2 was S.H.I.E.L.D. rebuilding, and that included...
On the run in the plane. Yeah.
And they're still fighting against Hydra and
Yeah,
what's
they
that
were like
guy's-
trying to dismantle Hydra.
And that included the introduction of Mockingbird and Lance Hunter, Nick
Yep.
Blood.
Yep.
I don't know which one is
and
his
then
real
they
name.
brought in, was Hive that season?
And Hive was
Yes.
that season, and that seemed like the second half of that season. They started bringing the alien Hive, which Hive is a S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. It's from, or it's Jonathan Hickman's S.H.I.E.L.D. from and Secret Warriors.
Yep.
So it was Secret Warriors
and
as well.
Hive was really creepy. Like
Yeah.
like they did. So it actually made Ward into a cool character. For me.
The actor Grant Ward, I thought he was pretty solid, even in the first season when he had to be the boring straight man.
When he was a
Right.
good guy, I didn't like him. When he turned into a bad guy, I thought he got much better.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, and then when he turned into an alien husk of a thing, he got super creepy for me.
So when did the Inhumans show up? Was that season 3?
That was pretty
No,
early.
that was season 2
So
because
'Cause
he's an
Quake's-
Inhuman.
Yeah,
Season
Quake's
2 was
powers
also
and
Inhumans.
he's an
Okay,
Inhuman.
so there's a lot in season 2.
That's why they're throwing people through the...
Maybe we're putting season 2 and 3 together.
I think
might
we
be.
might be, because I think what was season 4 the Book of the Darkhold and
Yes.
the Ghost
Yes,
Rider and all
season
that
4.
stuff.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
so
so
all that
3
stuff.
was-
Yeah, so 3 must have been Hive.
3 was actually Hive.
and all the Inhuman stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah. So 3 was Inhumans and Hive. Season 4 was Darkhold, Ghost Rider, mystical stuff, and then
And
Black
then the
model
framework.
decoys.
the second half was LMDs, and then season 5 started off as time travel.
Muppets
No,
in
in
space.
Well-
Season 5 was in space, then they figured out that they were in the
yeah,
future.
they think
Okay.
they've just been thrown into space, but yeah.
Right. And then that's the first half. And then the second half, they get back to Earth and live in a bunker.
Okay, and
Because they've seen the destruction of the planet and are trying to prevent it.
they're trying to prevent the destruction of the planet. The funny thing is, none of this is terrible. It's all in the superhero bailiwick. Like, that is all superhero plotting. But it feels like the whiplash from one thing to another was part of the problem. And I also feel like, unfortunately, the characters never got a solid arc. Like, I could never tell when Daisy was betraying the team or not, or if Coulson was supposed to have secret plans, or if he's supposed to be bad at this.
No, there's some of that they got in there. I hear what you're saying. Like the Daisy thing, she was kind of going to turn against the team, but then she didn't really, and then she basically became Quake and super loyal.
Yeah.
But with the Coulson thing, there was a whole thing about like who is the mole and what is Coulson hiding from us,
Right.
And there was a lot of build up to that, and then it turned out, of course,
It was Ward.
Coulson. Well, and was it May? May was reporting on Coulson, and then it was
Right.
Ward, right?
Do you guys think? I think one of the original sins of this show, one of the biggest problems, was that the inventing this whole "why is Coulson alive" and making that like a season-long plot arc. I feel like that was a mistake.
Yeah, I feel like you're in the Marvel universe. Bringing somebody back to life is not that hard.
Just reveal that he was an LMD and move on.
That didn't really work for me in the first season. The Centipede thing didn't quite work for me. A lot of the stuff in the first season felt like they were hesitant to fully commit to these wild Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel ideas. Like, we'll do Centipede and not stretch further into.
Yeah.
And even if they were going to, even if all of that was really planned and they knew they were going to have to move into Hydra later or knew when the timing of all this was going to go, for me as a viewer, it was just, when we just ran through all of that, these seasons sound awesome when put together in retrospect, except season 1. I'm still bored by that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and season one it had sort of season one-itis. It's like episode of the week kind of, monster of the week kind of
and
episodes.
across that season, the team never gelled for me, and I think that's the weak point of this plotting. Like, when you summarize those things, this just sounds awesome. I did like Hive, and I really liked how he died in space. Like, that was a cool. I like that whole like wrap up. Like, screw you, we're just gonna die together then. And I liked the space time travel thing and the going back. Like, yeah, you're definitely aiming at my sweet spot on stories. But I never have liked this team. I've never given a shit about Quake.
Yeah.
What about her and her
that's one of-
daddy issues? And
That's one of the things that kept me coming back was enjoying some of the characters. I really like when May says in one of actually the very first episodes, Ward's like, "Well, don't you want to take a gun?" And she's like, "If I need a gun, I'll take one." Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, that's a pretty great line to set up that you were so badass that in a fight. And then she does it in the fight. She grabs somebody else's guns and like that was a cool moment.
Yeah.
There's been stuff I liked about May, and there's been stuff I've liked about Quake, but like overall, I just never really clicked with Daisy Quake's arc with Coulson, and I never really. Something about May was so hard ass that I never bought her.
well, it always felt
anything
inconsistent, right? Like I thought that episode to episode, it was surfacing story rather than consistent character, like going across. And so one week May would be the most competent character, and then the next week she had to make a big blunder or something that like wouldn't seem consistent with her character.
That's the
just
thing,
for the
like,
plot.
and what I've seen of season 5, that was what drives me. Like, Fitz was this sort of socially maladjusted, brilliant genius guy who had an unrequited crush on
Fitzsimmons, Randy, they are one person.
On his-
And I don't
on
even
his-
know why that joke was there in the first
I don't
season.
either.
That drove me nuts.
They are
Like,
Station from Bill
it
and
seemed like
Ted.
such a half-baked idea for
But
them.
he was that, and then he gets brain damage, and then he becomes a field operative, and then he
Oh, that
becomes a
drove me nuts.
time-traveling bounty hunter, and I'm like, what are you doing with this character?
Well, all right. In defense of Fitz,
Yes.
right? He did start out as kind of the other half of Simmons. Like the idea was supposed to be that they formed a full human being together,
Right.
Right? That they were very
Except
symbiotic.
there wasn't actually like we're in a universe where they could have been like a symbiote of each other. Right. And instead they're
yeah.
just really codependent people who have never once admitted that they want to flirt. And that drove me nuts. Like everyone else calls you by one name, but it took like 2.5, 3 seasons for them to.
Well, and also, I don't understand what made them so symbiotic. They were both the same personality. They were both nerdy people with no social skills. If Simmons had been the outgoing person who could talk to people and Fitz was the genius, or they
were botany and math.
their science stuff was supposed to be, but even that, they became a little bit generic super scientists because that's the way,
Marvel.
because that's the way science works in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Oh wait, who built the Sentinels? Bolivar Trask, the anthropologist.
Yes.
He knows the science of anthropology. I guess he could probably build super sophisticated robots.
I do love Ian DeCasticker. Like I liked him on the Fades, and I'm blanking on Simmons' name, the actress that played.
Yeah, she's good
too. They are probably my two favorite until they introduced Mac and Mockingbird and all of that. Like, it really brought them up. I think they were probably my favorite two people, and so it drove me nuts that I really didn't like the whatever pun name joke. It drove me crazy. The Fitzsimmons thing in the first season.
So getting back though to to Fitz, right? He then had the brain damage that he had to get over. And
This
became
is
a
in
field
this
operative.
this space season.
This was previous to the space season.
That was season 3.
In the space season,
Yes.
since you haven't seen it, here's what happens. They all get taken and time traveled into the future against their will, except for Fitz. He's left behind. So Fitz essentially through wit and intelligence finds, which I guess are kind of the same thing, he finds this robot who helps him out, who looks human, who puts him in suspended animation so that he can come out of suspended animation in the future and go rescue the rest of the team. And there's a great moment where after some of this has happened, Simmons and Daisy Quake are talking, and Daisy's like, "Where did Fitz come from?" And Simmons is like, "I don't know. He showed up with a spaceship as a bounty hunter in the future to come to rescue us." And Daisy's like, "That's a baller move."
He's now attractive.
Here's the thing: the the Whedon people are sort of involved in this. It's not the same people who did Buffy and all that. But I remember in Angel when they brought in Wesley as the rogue demon hunter.
What's a rogue demon?
Exactly. And that was a good bit. And had they done the same thing with Fitz, I can sort of see that turn. But I don't know. Just something about it sounds weird to me.
Well, I mean, he was acting.
Yeah.
I mean, that ultimately, he was playing the role of the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He wasn't really a bounty hunter. But also, actually, hold on. We have to remember that by this point, Fitz has lived in the framework, the LMD alternate matrix reality world where Hydra was in control, and he was the leader of Hydra alongside his LMD girlfriend.
So he leveled up in some areas.
He leveled up in some areas and also found sort of his dark side because he still has all those memories.
Yeah, they've done the weird doctor episode, I think. God, I'm not remembering which season that was, where Fitz doesn't realize he's sabotaging himself around the office.
Yeah, that was in that season.
Okay.
That was in season 5.
So do we find that they were brought into the future in space for a purpose?
There's a little girl who we met in like season 3 or 4. It was 3 because it was the guy who was having the visions. It was his daughter, Robin.
Yes.
And she basically has a superpower to see the future. And so she had, but couldn't barely, she was always unstuck in time. So she only communicated through drawings, and she had essentially made these prophecies of them being in the future. And so the people in the future wanted to bring them there to go back in time and stop Earth from being blown up. And everybody thought Earth got blown up by Quake.
See, this is another one of the problems I have with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they have established that they exist in the same universe as the main MCU superheroes.
You're like, where's Spider-Man?
Exactly. So you can't help but know that they're constantly living in the shadow of these gods that are constantly saving the planet, right? Mm-hmm. And
it's a real issue in the last like 3 episodes of season.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the same thing that's going on with Legends of Tomorrow, where they're like, oh, we need to bring the best of the best. But clearly you didn't, because you brought these guys.
At least in Legends, they tell them flat out in the first episode, like, no, the reason we grabbed you guys is because the timeline won't miss you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
nothing will change if we pull you people out of the timeline.
Firestorm slips out of the timeline. I'm the only human that will notice this. Like, no one else gives a rat's ass.
That's what it feels like, though, with like there's no real stakes or consequences, because I always feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're not even the B team. They're like the C team or D team.
It doesn't fit into the MCU. It doesn't feel like it's part of the MCU.
But they do, like, they make Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wait on stuff some seasons. Like, they made them time that season 1 or season 2 for
and they're
Winter Soldier.
Well, and
They still have to
honestly,
suffer from that.
I feel like, to me, that was the biggest problem for the show,
Mm-hmm.
is that in the first half of season 1, they were trying to establish stuff, but they couldn't entirely establish anything because they know they were going to have a big status quo change,
Which they had to keep
Winter
super
Soldier,
secret, yeah.
Which they had to keep super secret. And then once it happens, like, it's cool. It's some of the best 2 or 3 episodes.
It was the high point of the series.
Right. But after that, you've got a show that is about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and you think of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel Universe, S.H.I.E.L.D. are like the police force of superheroes, right?
Yeah.
Like, they are the badasses who deal with all these superhumans fucking stuff up.
Yeah.
Can I say fucking?
Yes.
Yep.
Because I just said it twice.
Yeah, we're not going to beep it.
So the whole like premise of the show is we're agents of now this super underground organization that half the time is on the run from everybody else, and like it's nice to have that here and there for S.H.I.E.L.D., but overall, like, I want S.H.I.E.L.D. to be Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and they
it just
are,
feels so
running things.
impotent.
I feel like one of the biggest problems the show had is that they had clearly been cut out of the MCU loop.
Right.
And the people, first of all, I think Jeff Loeb being the guy running it, Jeff Loeb, I don't want him having more influence over the movie universe. So either he's out or...
Oh, please, have him just out.
So if Kevin Feige was sort of like the guy overseeing, if basically he laid out the plans to these guys, if he trusted them and said, hey, look, there's a big moment coming up in Age of Ultron where the helicarrier is going to rise and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury has built his core S.H.I.E.L.D. up again. And you guys can tell the story of him rebuilding this S.H.I.E.L.D. him rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, if that had been season 2, rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. in secret, that would have been much more interesting.
I mean, it kind of was.
Sort of, but it wasn't. They didn't do anything that mattered. Like,
Right.
they weren't recruiting agents who we saw later. Like,
Right. And they weren't going public because the public didn't trust them.
right.
Right.
So
And by the way, I'm friends with Jeff, and I don't think it's on Jeff. I think it's on Jeff's boss.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Jeff has storytelling instincts in comics as well, where he's got to be a great guy to work for because he brings his artists on and he's like, what do you want to do? I imagine he's a fantastic collaborator. But unfortunately, I think you need someone who's more of an asshole control freak to run things like this, or else you get so many people giving their visions and nobody's doing the central story of taking care of the universe. And I think that's got to be the key of something like this. I mean, we've heard all these stories from directors. Edgar Wright is one of them, of what a pain in the ass it is to work in the MCU, because it is not for you to just do your vision. Like, there's a certain amount of that. Ryan Coogler brought a thing to Black Panther. Taika Waititi certainly brought his influence to Thor Ragnarok, but it all has to fit into the framework. And I feel like the TV show, they're so loosey-goosey about the framework that it doesn't belong in the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, I mean, I think it is that it's not that just that it's loosey-goosey. It's that they would – I think many of the people working on those shows would love to be more a part of that framework.
Yeah.
And there's a split at the top between – I mean, literally, I think they are different companies.
Yeah.
On paper. So there's a split, and Feige isn't focusing on the TV world, and so it gets cut out by that.
Yeah, to some extent, S.H.I.E.L.D. was screwed from the outset for so many reasons, one of which is that they didn't want to share the Marvel Universe with it. Another is what we all talked about, which is that the concept of this was you are the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., an organization that was very important to the Marvel Universe until Winter Soldier, at which point it was basically disintegrated.
Yeah, I also feel like they got saddled with Inhumans, which is unworkable. Like, nobody outside of I don't know anybody that's made an Inhuman story that's really
there's one great Inhuman, Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they've done a great job with her, and she's been fantastic.
And Lockjaw.
Well, sure, the royal family, but as a general rule, the Inhumans were a substitute for mutants, and they just never had the same cachet.
Yeah.
I feel like the show got saddled with all this. What I wish they'd done early on instead, when they realized, like, okay, so we're going to have to hit this mark this season, we're going to have to hit this movie mark this season.
Right.
In between that, can we get a Batman Brave and the Bold amount of weird ass D-list characters?
Yeah, that you're never going to use.
And just really run at it.
like the CW does.
Yeah.
Because comics have always had this problem of me reading stuff and going, how does this not draw Doctor Strange in? Like, if you like an obscure character and anything too huge happens outside of their neighborhood, like, there's going to be a moment where you go, and man, where's Thor right now?
Yeah, you're like, how's this Darkhawk's problem?
Yeah, and so AOS was going to run into that. Like, it's a thing that happens in comics anyway.
Right.
But I feel like they could have solved it about the way comics always do. I mean, there's ways through all that to justify it or just ignore it. But they could have really had like I keep thinking of the Dietrich Bader Brave and the Bold cartoon that just opened with like the weirdest ass D-list corner of the DC universe, and I would have loved AOS to have just leaned into it instead of both feeling like MCU light, but also feeling a little embarrassed to show me full-on superheroes for a little while.
Yeah.
And once they embraced that a little more, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you talk about season 5 being crazy, but they really are like pulling out all the stops. Like, they're in the future, in space, orbiting Earth because Earth got blown up. And now they're going to go back into the past, and they're going to find out that it was Graviton who blew up the world. And, Yo-Yo's going to get her arms cut off and get some robot arms, which I did not like the way they handled it specifically when that happened in that episode.
Who is this? Yo-Yo?
Yo-Yo.
Yo-Yo Rodriguez, the super speedster who always returns to the point where she started. Who, in the middle of a fight with a bunch of robots, says, okay, I'm going to go steal all their guns and then run back with all their guns, and now we're going to have a big fist fight, during which I'm going to get my arms cut off. And I'm like, you just stole their guns. Why don't you all take their guns and shoot them?
Right. Yeah, well, especially when you compare it to what they're doing on Flash, you're like, you can do super speed on a budget. You can't tell me that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a lower budget than the Flash.
No, I think it's a matter of she was too OP.
Yeah.
Right. But, I mean, Yo-Yo does get her arms cut off in the comics. She got her arms cut off in Secret Warriors.
Yo-Yo's in the comics?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's one of the Secret Warriors.
I need to reread Secret Warriors.
So
It's a real good series.
getting back to the season. So after they return to Earth, that you say they go hiding into a bunker. Is that like how the rest of the season kind of wraps up?
Essentially, they are in a bunker and they get locked in by Putty or the Tick.
Patrick
Warburton.
Yeah, in a really great old Shield so nuclear holocaust has happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
But essentially, it kind of keeps them out of the limelight while Infinity War is starting up.
Okay.
And so the last few episodes, they're dealing with Graviton and this Kree ship that's in space, and
I love
Earth's
that
about to get
idea that they're like,
destroyed.
oh man, I would totally be out there fighting the good fight for the Infinity War. No, you wouldn't, guys.
Too bad we're locked in this 50s nuclear bunker.
Yeah, it's right, and it's while all this, imagining while all this stuff was with Infinity War is happening, they're dealing with all this stuff, and it's really? All right. I mean, I guess that happens in Marvel Comics all the time.
Yeah,
right. One X-Men are trying to stop the world from being destroyed, while the Avengers are trying to stop it being destroyed by somebody else, while Defenders are trying to stop it being destroyed by somebody else.
Yeah, and then Doctor Strange pops up and they're like, what have y'all been doing? I've been working hard for weeks on this whole separate problem.
Yeah. The disappointments for me, I look at Agent Carter, which was imperfect as well, but if they had somehow done a through line, once they had the chance to, okay, Winter Soldier destroyed our premise. So instead of instead of sticking with this team, let's do a story where Agent Carter is the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to go through the sort of the periods and show how S.H.I.E.L.D. developed. Do some flashbacks to how S.H.I.E.L.D. became an organization, because we've seen none of that. And we're not going to see any. We're going to see a little bit of it in Captain Marvel, but that's something that's outside the movie purview, but is interesting world building where you wouldn't be constantly running up against what's going on right now. That's one thing you could have done.
Now you're doing a period piece.
Yeah.
And you've got a different cast, and you've already got contracts with those actors.
Right. But
they should have had Hawkeye and Black Widow actually be part of the TV series.
Yeah, that would
they
have been-
should have had this be a little bit more robust. They weren't going to get Samuel L. Jackson, but he could have done more than one cameo in this show.
But here's the thing.
We got Sif.
if you're
and then
doing-
she disappeared from the MCU.
if you're doing a period piece, you can recast Hawkeye and Black Widow and Nick Fury as younger people for the TV show, and fans would have howled about it, but it would have worked better than what they did. And you can still go forward and do a thing where Coulson and his team are rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. and flashing back to what S.H.I.E.L.D. was as a guideline.
Are we absolutely sure that our brains can't handle it to see someone be in the movie screen and then a different actor be the same character?
Oh, I think
maybe it's like going 35 miles an hour in a Model T or something. Our face will just rip off from the wind. But
Lethal
I
Weapon.
think our brains can do it.
Yeah.
I understand that Damon Wayans Jr. is not Danny Glover, but
Yeah.
they are playing the same character.
To be clear, I understand that it's nobody's fault that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That there are forces. I think Paul nailed it. If there are forces saying no, hands off. You do your cute little TV show, but do not interfere with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so they had no choice but to oh, and by the way, Inhumans is yours now. They were definitely being screwed by getting directives from above.
I will say, every single season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., someone has told me, no, it just got better. You should go back and watch it. And season 5 is the first, the couple of Ghost Rider moments in 4, but season 5 was really the first time that I felt any of that.
Yeah.
Where I sat and watched it and went, okay, if I just stumbled across this and had not watched any of the first season or anything, but I just found this show somehow in season 5, this is just really swinging for the fences storytelling. You guys are really going for it. This is as weird as I would like this show to have started in one.
Yeah.
Of just let's see what we can get away with. Because the space and forward in time and then jumping back and Kree ship and weird prison colony thing, all of it's just nuts. And I would have liked season 1 to have started from there.
Well, and big spoiler, I 100% agree, right? it was embracing the craziness of the Marvel Universe that really made it more exciting. Big spoiler, Fitz dies at the end of the season.
He's been dead before, right?
No.
Like X-Men
He was-
dead or like dead?
He
dead?
was dropped in the ocean and
Right.
and
So
Yeah.
presumed
that.
dead. Okay.
Which almost
And is
yeah.
Simmons alive?
Simmons is alive, so
Okay.
they got engaged. It was
Okay.
actually kind of great because he proposes to her at a point where the Kree have stolen her hearing
Okay.
to make her a better servant. So she can't hear him as he like does this amazing proposal, and then she proposes to him, and he's like, "Wait, I proposed first." She's like, "Sure you did, honey." So he dies heroically at the end of the season. And sort of the final wrap up of the show and the mission that they're on for the next season is we're going to go find Fitz because
In the afterlife?
it's the future Fitz. It's the one who traveled to the future who died. There's still a Fitz in suspended animation waiting to get woken up in the future.
Oh, man.
So if we
that's
wake
so
him
fucking
up,
weird.
then he'll never show up in the future.
But
and
their
we won't
hands
ever
will start
fix it.
disappearing and-
yeah,
The
like, I
weird
don't
time
know,
travel
it's-
arguments in the back half of last season were fun, and so yeah, I'll be interested to see where they go with that.
I think when we see Avengers Infinity War 2 Annihilation or whatever it's being called, and we have all of reality get shifted so that everyone dies, some people come back, we got the X-Men and Fantastic Four back. I think we'll find out that there's just like this other reality that's no longer exists, and that's the Marvel TV universe.
It's just all
is
been framework.
gone, and then they're able to just bring back all those characters in this other universe. It'll be interesting.
So what's weird to me is they got renewed for a last minute season 6. Like they thought they were going to end, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Like watching the finale, it felt like they were writing off Coulson and May. They were giving them sort of their happy ending. They killed off Fitz. Like this was they had the big showdown with Graviton. Like it was all done, and then they got a renewal of 13 episodes.
Yep. 13
So-
episodes with Daisy, Mac, Yo-Yo, and Simmons.
So I found this article on Digital Spy, which mentions that Jed Whedon, who is running the show, so Clark Gregg said, "My understanding is that Phil Coulson is no longer alive," and Jed said, "Hey, we think there's an emotional impact to everything that happened this season, and we would never want to undercut that. I would argue that, but whatever. That being said, our show is founded on a man who's been killed in the movies, and Clark Gregg is the foundation upon which our show is built. So bring him back in flashbacks, bring back a different version of him somehow. They go back in time. They're going to, I mean, like,
We're seeing a younger version of him in Marvel, Captain Marvel.
In Captain Marvel.
So I'm trying
they
to
even
say.
talk
Captain
about,
Marvel.
he says, I know we see him floating in space, but he's Graviton. So, chances are he might not be super dead. So they may not have done anything permanent. They may just roll back everything they did because they feel like there's nothing they can't change. They've brought people back from the dead so many times.
I mean, again, it's Marvel.
It's superheroes. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure that when EJ ponies up again next year, I will watch season 6.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
13 episodes actually is a better run.
Yeah.
But it is weirding me out that this show's still going on. And that they've been through so much.
Well, maybe they'll reboot it when they start the Disney Marvel channel.
Yeah.
I mean, they passed their 100th episode this season.
That's insane.
All right, let's move on and talk about some of these CW shows.
Now I want to talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. some more.
No, we gotta wrap. We've gone on long enough.
I'm addicted. EJ, what have you done?
We've
We're
talked
going to
this.
plug Randy into the framework where he can live in a virtual world where he only discusses S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
fair.
it's kind of like the world where Hydra controls everything.
Let's talk about Black Lightning. It's back for its second season.
Yeah, so I think this is the best CW superhero show.
I think so too.
Well, this one exists like outside of the other ones, right?
It's on its
in-
own world. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no crossover portal jumping. Like this one doesn't do the Elseworlds crossovers and stuff with the other CW shows.
I only watched the first 3 episodes of season 1, so let's talk about it. But no spoilers.
Oh, there's gonna be spoilers. So season 2. So I watched, I think, 6 episodes of season 1, and then just kind of fell off. Just other stuff got in the way.
Hold on, is that title that I'm seeing on your laptop "The Book of Consequences," Chapter 1, "Rise of the Green Light Babies"?
That is
all
correct.
One episode?
Yes. And every episode's like
Wow.
this, and that is a more coherent nomenclature than season 1.
Yeah. It's crazy, and that's actually the first thing I noticed when I went back to it. Is wow, that is a crazy long title. But
And they've got these weird cartoon title cards now on the episodes. But
They did a really interesting thing where they made Jefferson Pierce a slightly older hero. He's got his daughters who are coming into their own herodom. He's divorced from his wife because of his superheroing, and
But they're
yet-
kind of rebuilding their relationship.
Yeah, their relationship
yeah.
is one of the better relationships on television. Like there's a moment in season 1 episode or season 2 episode 1 where they're together and they're kind of flirting, and even though they're fighting, you can kind of see that you can see how much they love each other.
Yeah, and that works across season 1 as well. Their casting, they really do have some chemistry.
Yeah.
and they handle her. Too often, I feel like in shows, couples are given a fight, and one person is just being really weirdly unreasonable about a thing, just so that this fight continues. And she makes her point really well of having pulled bullets out of him from
I remember that.
from all this, and going, look, your kids are going to find you. Our kids are going to find your corpse one night.
Yeah.
And just I'm done with this. And then you find out over season 1 that he has that suit because otherwise his powers will short his own nervous system. His powers aren't exactly the most healthy thing for him.
This episode had there's also some interesting blaxploitation callbacks here. Like the fight in the parking garage between the 2 female henchmen. That was a great fight.
Yeah.
And also one of them is an agent of they don't have Argus and they don't have DEO. They have this other agency, but it is clearly Argus DEO. It's basically their secret metahuman agency.
Yeah.
And there's one woman who's maybe coming in from the cold, who was an agent of that, who gets in a fight with the henchwoman of Tobias Whale.
Yeah, Cyanide.
Yeah. And it's a great fight, and it's brutal. And I'm interested in where her story arc is going. Tobias Whale is a fantastic villain.
Yeah, he's great. And I really thought Jill Scott was the villain in the first season above him.
Yeah.
And then when they take her out, it really, when she's no longer in charge, it really surprised me in the first season how they handled that. But then Tobias really arced into a great villain. And they went ahead and justified how he's stronger.
Yeah.
Which I was glad. For a little bit in the first season, he just seems like you're just evil enough to outpunch other people,
Right.
or survive a fight with the hero. And no, they make a point later of saying no, he had an early version of this serum, and so he's stronger.
The big thing that was running through the first season, and it's definitely a big part of the second one, is that there's this drug called Green Light that kind of gives you metahuman powers.
And this is part of what makes the show. They handle this really well. They use this goofy costumed superhero show as a stealth way to deal with a lot of issues that I think a lot of shows wish that they probably could deal with.
Yeah.
The entire origin of Green Light was to be a passive doping sedative, basically, for inner cities.
Yeah.
And they inadvertently made mutants out of the inner city kids.
Right.
And so that's how Black Lightning happened. And so most people didn't get superpowers out of it. Most people, it was just a bad Tuskegee thing.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of it is just evil and awful, and then they deal with it. And so you've got you now have the community knowing that these powers came from this, but also being scared of these new powered people.
Right.
It's also an addictive drug.
And the government's taking their kids, and they need this money. They need money. The church is trying to raise money to get them back because the government is basically saying, "Hey, we own your kids," and it's impossible not to see the border story in that. And there's a kid in here who develops green light powers and gets shot by the cops.
Yeah.
And killed.
And the communities immediately make the correct point of all this is a new reason for cops to go green light and shoot.
And one of the things
and they dealt with that even in one of the first
They did.
the first episode, right, where the cops are telling him get your black ass down or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, zap.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
Yeah.
they never shied away from that stuff.
And they've
that's
just
something I really
kept
liked
leaning
about the
into
show.
it. Yeah. When season 2 started with news footage of the dead teen, I was like, oh shit, we're just opening with that. We're going right there. Like, and
They are unapologetically dealing with these issues, and I think that's interesting. And the other thing I think was very telling was that this kid rises from the dead because of his green light powers, and the first thing the FBI does is try to kill him
shoot
again.
him again. Yeah.
This was a reminder. An innocent black kid whose only crime was developing powers, and when he wakes back up, they decide the best thing to do is kill him again. And I feel like that may be the best summation of how law enforcement views black teenagers I've ever heard.
Yeah, this show's kind of remarkable, and I'm glad I've stuck with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Supergirl does something similar, right? They don't pull any punches on those fronts either.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten better and better, and are dealing, like in the season premiere for Supergirl, they I think directly have Martian Manhunter look at her and say, "You're having a great time as an alien on this planet because you look like you." Like the people that look like giant cockroaches and shit, they are not having a great time, despite humanity knowing about aliens on the Supergirl world.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about Supergirl then.
Yeah.
While we're at it.
So I'm behind on this one as well. I didn't watch most of last season, but Les, I know you watched the season opener.
Yeah, and you were a bigger fan of the show than I was overall.
Yeah.
I waxed and waned on Supergirl. The first season felt really cheesy to me, and then they jumped channels, and I felt like it got better. They've made the same way that Green Arrow is just Batman for the CW universe. Even though they have Superman, Supergirl is Superman in the DC. I mean, in the CW television universe. And this one fully opens with like, aliens are known. There's an Alien Amnesty Act. Everybody's aware that Kryptonians tried to kill the planet last season. So Supergirl's flying all around the world. Like, it is the opening of a Superman comic. It was really fun. Like, she's flying to Russia and she flies somewhere out, like just saving people right and left all over the planet. And then she shows up and does her news reporting job. I really liked how this season just kind of hit the ground running on this this new world with aliens walking around. You see an alien support group complaining about how, there are image inducers, but why do I have to wear one?
Right. Why do I have to fit in?
Yeah.
Right?
So,
why can't I
everyone-
wear this head cover?
Yeah.
Does everyone now know that the president is an alien?
By the end of this episode, it's revealed.
Okay.
So that's the big reveal in this episode, is that she gets publicly outed as an alien.
Yeah.
Which there was already. Oh, and this episode brings about what I assume is going to be part of the big bad of this season, which is Martian Manhunter literally has to sit Supergirl down and like, I know you are having a great time as an alien, but there are hate groups out there that just want all aliens eradicated. And she's like, no, everybody's been super nice to me. Like, you are a cute blonde girl.
Yeah.
You are having a better time than Cockroach Boy.
Did I see they brought Lena Luthor back? Or not Lena Luthor, but her mom.
Yes, she goes to visit her in prison to ask a question. Yeah, they've still got, I feel like, all of their best elements in play, and they are not shying away from kind of having these privileged conversations and making their alien thing the same way that. The same thing I've always loved about comic books, that you can take this stuff and make an obvious social commentary with it, but give enough capes and punches and stuff that people will sit through it.
Right.
Flash and Arrow?
So Flash I had given up on. I'd quit all the CW shows, not because I thought they were bad. They were just kind of losing interest for me. And 22 episodes, and I was like, okay, it might just be too cheesy for me.
So having stuck with Flash,
Yeah.
I am really annoyed at the alternating time travel problem, other speedster villain swap every other season.
And they didn't do that last season, right?
They had the Thinker last season finally, but now we're back to time travel.
Yeah.
So for you, what got you back into this, though?
So what got me into this was XS, which is a character that was created by, was it Tom McCraw and Mark Waid, I think, for their
It was
Legion
definitely
run?
Mark.
I think it was Tom McCraw as well. Or Tom Pyre, sorry.
I think it was Tom Pyre. Mark had a great post the other day on Facebook where he said, like, hey, I just want to give credit where credit is due, but also super excited to see XS on TV.
So in the comics, XS is in the Legion of Superheroes, and she is the descendant of Barry Allen, because in comics, his kids were taken to the future and raised in like the year 3000 AD, and so his granddaughter, weirdly, is in like the year 3000 because of time travel. The CW didn't do that. Instead, she comes back from 30 years in the future. She is Barry and Iris's kid, and she's older than Barry now, and she comes back to help him. with what seems like she was like, oh, a satellite was going to crash into Earth and you needed my help, and so I came back. And over the course of this episode, we find out that no, she knows about the crisis, and that we've been seeing since season 1, that Barry is going to disappear in like 2024 and not show back up in the 25 years since she's been alive.
Yeah, she's never met him. They do a really fun job of her not really caring about meeting Iris.
Yeah.
And really wanting to be around Barry, and you think it's because she doesn't like Iris. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I know you in the future.
Right.
Yeah, I misread that as an estrangement.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a really good job of that. And then the way she like hugs Barry before she goes back, like you're like, okay, something's going on here.
Barry's dead somewhere.
And you're like, Barry's dead. And then we find out, no, he's lost in the crisis, and she came back to help him. But the thing that really she brought was she has that enthusiasm for super speed. She loves all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the actress they got to play her is fantastic. It's just this bright energy that I think The Flash had in the first season, and then slowly but surely became darker and darker, and I had less interest in watching Barry suffer tragedy after tragedy.
That's why I didn't watch last season,
Yeah.
because I was like, you don't have the same optimistic feeling that you had in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about the show.
It feels like they're
Not
a
as
team
interesting.
again, and they brought Ralph Dibny in, and I guess he's some alternate world Ralph Dibny or something.
No, he's still Ralph
Okay.
Dibny,
Okay.
elongated man from previous season. They got him back.
Yeah.
Does his nose wiggle? There's a mystery.
It should.
I know they've had him wiggle his nose, and he was dumpy and fat when he got his powers, and he realized like, oh, I can just change my body.
That's fun.
It's I really I like the actor they got to play Ralph. So there was. I almost when I thought that they had actually killed him off last season,
Yeah.
I was willing to stop watching the show over it. Like I was really
All right.
mad.
So now I can go back and watch last season because I know he lives.
Yeah.
And that there's no super speedsters or time travel in it.
Yeah, I heard from people. I've heard mixed things. I've heard people who say that last season was the best season. I've heard people say skip last season. Probably just a matter of time. I'm not gonna go back,
Yeah.
but I will keep watching this. I watched this thinking I'll watch it for this week's episode, but I'm probably not going back to The Flash. And then I enjoyed it so much, especially seeing all these characters in this team, that I'm going to keep up with it.
This show got me to care about Vibe. I never give a shit about that character in the
Well, it's
comics.
'cause Cisco
ever.
Ramon's a great character.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the actor
They've done a
playing
great
Cisco
job with him.
owns it.
Yeah.
So is anyone watching Arrow?
I
No.
watched the season opener of Arrow, and I remembered why I stopped watching Arrow last season. I'm good. Oliver's in prison. Everybody's gone their separate ways. The team is still not back together.
But at least they're off the island.
No, at the end of this episode, they're back on the island.
Damn it.
That
Yeah.
damn island.
Oh, and,
wait, is this Lost?
No, it's a much less interesting island.
Hey.
Of all the sins for a show to
That was a
do,
compliment to Lost.
Good.
they promoted
Like my guard
the
up.
actor that plays Diaz. They promoted that character. I think it's Diaz to the villain that they have. Is a villain from last season that I didn't like, and they've promoted him to series regular. So they're definitely doubling down on him in plot. And I love the actor playing him. And the character is just awful and boring. Has really nothing to do. Like
That's how I feel about Damien Dark.
He's an idiot thug who shouldn't still be alive.
Yeah.
Like
Damien Dark is a terrible character played by a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm looking forward to is we've seen the teaser of the Elseworlds logo where it looks like in this world Barry became Green Arrow and Oliver became the Flash somehow. And I'm interested in that. They're going to introduce Batwoman. The costume looks fantastic.
Ruby Rose is
Excited
Batwoman.
about Batwoman.
Yeah. So I will watch the crossover of all these, and then I'll probably stick with Flash and possibly Supergirl and maybe Black Lightning. But they really need to – they have the same problem that Netflix has, except more. Netflix needs to be less than 13. They definitely need to be less than 22.
I'm going to stick with all of them.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Everything
all of
just
them need to be
compulsively
fewer
watches
than
these.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grant watches so much CW, you guys.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. It's
your favorite network.
Yeah. All right. Now, we have a few more shows that are not actually superhero centric. So, Paul, you need to leave.
I like the implication that, I only watch shows with superheroes. If you guys do an episode to talk about The Good Wife or The Good Fight, I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
The Good Wife, The Good Fight, and The Good Place. And we'll call it.
He only likes good shows.
We'll call it
I
Saul
only like
Good.
good shows. It's all good.
Yeah.
That would be a good episode.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul as well. We'll
It's gotta
do
be
the Saul
back.
Good.
Oh, yeah. I'm on that. right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Where else can people check you out?
Well, thank y'all for having me. So, the Disney Princess series from Joe Books for some nicely hilarious and empowered Disney Princess comic strips.
Sweet.
You can pick up a couple of trade paperbacks that came out somewhat recently that have some good Marvel stories I did. One of them is Marvel Universe Doctor Strange, which was a digest-sized trade collection. It has my story with Dormammu trying to come and take over the body of the Hulk. And instead he gets in the body of Hulk's pet lab monkey. And hilarity ensues. And there's also a Hulk-Thor trade that they did when Ragnarok came out that has a story with Hulk in a gladiator arena in space fighting one of the Elders of the Universe, the champion. And Hulk gets the power gem. And again, hilarity ensues.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. And I think mischief managed as far as covering Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. EJ?
Yep. Yeah. I think we talked a lot about that.
But you listeners don't go anywhere because we still got more to discuss, including, it sounds like the CW is trying to do their own take on Friday Night Lights with this show called All American.
Sort of. It's a kid from it's season 4 of Friday Night Lights.
Oh, okay.
It's a this kid from the sort of like
it's the John Singleton story. Like
is he South Central? He's in like the
Crenshaw or no.
Crenshaw, I think, is right. It's sort of a dangerous sort of. He's in this sort of public school. He's a talented, not quarterback, but like running back.
Yeah,
the poor black kid goes to the wealthy white school in order to play
he's
football.
a fish out of water, but like this story is incredibly formulaic, and they do it really well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they do it well enough to break out of what is essentially a very formulaic story.
Well, he's recruited by Taye Diggs, playing the black coach of this Beverly Hills type school, and Taye Diggs is playing an older guy. He's made the transition from.
He's doing a really good job in this.
He's really good, and he's the selling point. But the kids they've got to play the various acting roles are also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a mixed marriage. His wife is white, and this very sort of waspy Beverly Hills woman. And there's a little bit of this kid looking at him and going like, "You kind of sold out."
He played pro ball for like 2 years.
He played pro ball, and he kind of escaped the situation. And it seems like he kind of is like he's trying to bring this kid along with him.
Yeah. It sounds like basically he grew up in the same kind of situation, and somebody was good enough to offer him a scholarship out. And it's how he got to have his life.
And as the show goes on, we see this thing where like the other athletes do not like this kid coming in and sort of including this coach's son who's the quarterback. They do not like this kid coming in and disrupting their chance to go on to stardom. Like he's going to steal all the spotlight. So they kind of try to fuck him over. He's having a relationship with the like popular girl in school who's this rich girl who is dating one of the main characters who's kind of this racist ass.
Yeah.
And
it's like that's going to blow up in his face.
He's also like having a will they won't they with the coach's daughter.
This just all feels so familiar. It's like they just found a list of tropes.
And then there's the big twist, of course, is the reveal that the kid is his son. Like he had this kid with this other woman, and he's trying to rescue his kid without letting him know.
Tay.
Yeah.
Oh, saucy.
So I mean,
which is going to throw a real wrench in that. I just realized going to throw a real wrench in that. Will they? Won't they? With the coach's daughter.
Yeah. So I mean, on the one hand, this show is just a stack of tropes, and it's not really breaking any new ground on any of this. That said, everybody involved is ably handling their parts.
Yeah,
like I enjoyed the episode. I was right along with it. I didn't feel bored. Honestly, every Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode I watched felt longer than this. That said, there's nothing here.
It's solidly executed. If you miss Friday Night Lights, this is a decent B-list substitute for it.
It doesn't have the same heart, I'm guessing.
It does not have the same heart. It's aiming for it. It's trying for it.
There's a couple of times where they do some really smart storytelling things that kind of deftly move around some of these tropes. Like the kid starts to have his whole like, I don't want to leave my authentic real school where I grew up to go to some stupid Beverly Hills, and his mom sits him down and is like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And his friend.
You are going to this school. There was a shooting at the last game you played.
Yeah.
Like and his
and
best
his friend who's
just
a trans guy
tells him like just to shut the shuts him down.
She's
on
like,
him.
why would you want to go here?
Yeah, he's like, but it's really like, no, stop it.
Yeah.
You shut up and take the opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
and they do that a couple of times. It is straight up drumline. He gets super mad immediately at the first practice. He won't run any of the team plays because he's the hot shit.
Yeah.
Run all of his own plays, and the coach benches him and then puts him on defense. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, have you ever played safety? No, figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like I don't. He's taken away his whole star position. He gets all butthurt. He goes back to his friend, and his friend's like, well, you can't let some lily white Beverly Hills coach tell you. And the friend, the kid's like, yeah, the coach is black. And his friend immediately stops and goes, shit, maybe he's right.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of moments where like another character just pops the balloon of the trope that they are aiming at. But overall, the show just doesn't rise above it.
It's solidly executed. It's one of the better pilots I've seen this year, which is more of a condemnation of fall TV than anything else. But I won't stick with it. But for people who are looking for this, it's solidly executed.
Yeah.
I certainly can see anyone saying, yeah, I miss Friday Night Lights, and this is a good substitute.
And if you like the level of drama that CW brings, this is ably done.
Yeah.
It's the most interesting sounding one to me.
Yeah.
The least interesting sounding one to me is the reboot of Charmed.
Okay, so I have a connection to Charmed. And that connection is that my kid watched every episode of Charmed on my Netflix in my office. And so on every time, every now and then,
forever Netflix is recommending you algorithmically related.
Also, every now and then, I would sit and watch an episode of Charmed. And here's what I learned about Charmed: that show was fucking awful.
TNT used to run it when they were also rerunning Angel and all that kind of stuff. And so, I've seen a weird amount of parts of Charmed episodes.
I never saw any, and I also came to the same conclusion.
So my kid Ross wanted to watch this, and they're 15 now, and I thought maybe their TV palette had been a little more sophisticated, but I think their nostalgia button overrode. And so they kind of liked this. They didn't love it, but they were watching it. And it was interesting because they were sort of comparing it to the previous pilot. And I guess structurally it's very similar. Like it's not a shot for shot or anything, but like bringing together the sisters, revealing that they have this
Power of three.
And this magical dude who's like their Charlie.
Yeah.
Or their Bosley, I guess, because Charlie's never seen.
Yeah.
Charlie would be God, I guess, or whoever the goddess of witches
Whoever powers them.
Yeah, Hecate. I don't know. But
so Harry is their
Harry's their like concierge, and their mom dies early on, and they're trying to figure out what demon killed her. And they didn't know one of the sisters existed, and she's a little older, and they all have different powers. One of them has telekinesis, one of them has the ability to stop time, and one of them has telepathy.
Yeah.
Does one of them have the ability to put me to sleep?
Yeah.
Yes.
They all have that ability.
I do like that the new sister, the slightly older one, is the super like Scully science skeptic. Obviously, this all gets proven to them very quickly, like magic's real, but she keeps that.
She still wants to have that scientific explanation.
I think at the end of it, when there's also like they get to decide whether or not to accept their fate as witches. And
witches is pro-choice.
Yeah, it's a very consent.
By the way,
oriented.
that is the thing that drove me a little crazy about this show. They were so proud of their feminist bona fides.
Yeah.
And they didn't earn them. I'm like, guys, this is all you feel about 2 years before. I mean, they're trying to tag on to the Me Too movement and all that kind of thing, and it felt cheap.
Yeah, the what's going on with their mom and eventually the demon that they end up fighting all revolves around like a Me Too thing on campus.
Yeah.
And it feels a little forced.
When the two protester sides were forcing off, I'm like,
that was one of the worst stages.
It was so terrible. I was like, you know what? I understand that there are legitimately terrible people in the world, and nothing seems unrealistic to me at this point. But this seems unrealistic to me.
Like a straight creeper just stops yelling and looks at one of the sisters and like, nice day, isn't it? I'm like, you're the demon. Who the fuck is this guy? He's not the demon. He's just a weirdo.
He's just a weirdo. Yeah.
Who they save.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it.
No, don't watch it.
No, thanks.
Now, I do love, like, there was a lot of outrage about them even doing this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reboot of Charmed. Charmed is sacred.
Charmed
is
not sacred.
So, friend of the show, Javi, Griot Marks Watch from Middleman, he took to Twitter and was like, look, if Charmed is too sacred to remake,
We can't remake
everything
anything.
is.
We
Like,
can't remake anything.
there
yeah.
is nothing sacrosanct about the show Charmed. If they want to reboot this,
Yeah.
it's fine.
The thing I think is that if they're going to reboot it, I feel like they should have gone further afield from the source material, because this felt just like, okay,
they
so you
lightened
got
up the spells a little, and that's
yeah.
Gender bend it, have it be three brothers.
Oh no.
Three brothers.
I will say, being disappointed that Supernatural couldn't spin off Wayward Sisters.
Yeah.
This is basically that with a little more name recognition because
Yeah.
of the reboot.
But
And
Wayward Sisters was a better pilot than this.
I do think Wayward Sisters was a better setup. But if they had just called Wayward Sisters Charmed, it probably would have had enough market cachet to.
Oh, that's a sad realization.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. This is their final season.
Yes, so happy they're getting this final season because they said this is where they wanted to wrap the story.
Yes, apparently this has always been the plan. And
Yeah.
God, I love this show.
I love this show.
My main problem with last season, Randy, you may remember, is that she turns around and says, I plead guilty or I plead responsible or whatever.
Yeah.
She's in a court not being tried for the things she's done.
Right, yeah.
Like, the crime that they're actually in that room for is not any of her fourth step list of whatever crazy shit she's done.
Yeah. She
so-
just wants to be punished.
She just wants to be punished.
and they deal with that straight away.
Oh, I'm so happy because that made me mad of like, you're all lawyers. This show can't suddenly just make no sense on the law.
Yeah.
And they very quickly, like, the judge looks at her and like, I can't take that
Yeah.
plea. You didn't
Yeah.
do any of this shit.
Yeah. And then she does wind up in jail, and she's basically, they're all like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. Like that it's a total contempt of court kind of
Yeah.
thing of like, fine, you just go and see, sit there for 6 weeks in county.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh god, when she tries to do the song in county, and the other women like to tell their stories, and the other women
their
are
stories.
like they're all just sad, awful.
Yes,
I stole a
yeah.
sweater. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The bit where the woman comes in is like, I got 6 weeks. I got 3 years. That was,
and the white lady's like, I'll just leave the room.
Yeah.
I'm just out.
yeah. There's some great social commentary in there as always. It's very smart. It's addressing Rebecca feeling guilty about her privilege and being privileged about the way she feels guilty.
Yes, well, and finally getting like I think it's Valencia that shuts
Yeah.
her down of like, look, having the space to step back and look at your privilege is a fucking privilege.
I love how evolved Valencia's characters become.
Oh man, all of the like, I'm really shocked that the whole show has moved forward. Like watching Josh try to figure himself out, watching Heather be in a relationship.
Yep.
It's been so good. Plus, the songs are still
The songs
just
are still
great.
great,
I
yeah.
love watching George from The Office and his ska obsession.
Yeah.
That's just wonderful.
So where are you on Nathaniel?
I honestly, when they added him to the show, I thought this is a terrible idea.
Same.
And he really won me over. And then at some point, because he's so different from this actor's previous characters, I was halfway through a season of watching Nathaniel before I realized, holy crap, that's Cappy from Greek. and so I love that actor. And so like
Okay.
once it clicked of like, oh my God, you're funny. Like you can be funny in two polar opposites. It's like if the nerd comedian suddenly could also do the jock characters.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. So I'm even more impressed with that guy now.
Yeah, I've come to like the character a little bit, but I still ultimately I don't want him and Rebecca to be together, and I hope that the show feels the same way.
I'm really wondering how they're going to handle it because so far the show has been very good about, like in this episode, she goes to jail and she immediately falls right back into all of her not
Yeah.
healthy, crazy,
Yeah.
obsessed, love obsessed, taking stuff over. Like, so we start doing these plays and then NPR comes to the prison and then we just take this thing to the next level.
Yeah.
And like you can see all of her stuff just
Her obsessiveness.
she's still just doing all the same stuff. Her walking around for like 5 days in the prison going, I deserve this. I deserve this.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't a healthy taking responsibility. This is
Right.
taking responsibility in the same crazy ass way that got you here.
Yeah.
And
then they said
and
that.
then they deal with it.
Yes.
So I really have to wonder if like there's not going to be this amazing end to this show where like she looks at Nathaniel at the ultimate moment and says no.
Yeah.
Like and that would be wonderful.
Well, and we know Greg is coming back.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm curious to see how that's going to inform everything. Because the fact they're bringing Greg back with a different actor tells me that this is part of a 4-year plan. Like that they always plan to do this, and that even being derailed by an actor issue, they figured out a way to make it work.
The closest thing to Crazy Ex on television for me is Good Place.
Wow,
Like
that's high praise. Indeed.
those shows fit the same level of like I don't know what magic you're doing, but please, everyone, just don't touch the writers' room until they're done.
Yeah. I'm super happy to have it back for a fourth season. I thought that the songs in the opener were not their strongest, but there's some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the season develops.
I wasn't as sold on the songs. The story song hit or miss for me. Honestly, I don't like the musical Chicago, and so
I love
it was
Chicago.
super weird. I knew what they were nodding towards, but I just don't care. But the finale song, basically, that they did when they 11-part harmony or just unison.
Yes.
I was
That
on
was
my
good.
feet. I was like, that's just great.
That was really good.
Also, George's ska song, Maybe I'm Just Broken.
That's a lot of CW shows, guys.
Yeah, Grant,
That's
what was
all
your
of them,
What was your favorite?
except for Riverdale.
I watched nothing. You know what I did? I watched
Raised Humans?
I watched season 1.5 of The Office again. I don't know why.
What is wrong with you?
Actually, I do know why. This motherfucker right here, Les, he recommended I watch this movie on Netflix because he saw it at Fantastic Fest.
Which one?
The one with Jeffrey
Oh,
Wright.
Hold the Dark.
Hold the Dark. I got 3/4 of the
That's a
way
mean
through this
fucking movie.
and it's just bleak and miserable, and nothing interesting happens, and I was just sad. And I was like, I need some sort of joy in my life. So I started up The Office, and then I just couldn't stop watching it. And I was like, I have homework. Fuck it, I'm watching more of The Office.
I've done that. I'm 4 seasons into my Parks and Rec rewatch for similar reasons.
It is just visual Twinkies and ho-hos
So
for me.
I do want to mention, I think those are both slurs.
Whoa.
I do want to mention, people are probably wondering why we didn't talk Haunting of Hill House this week, since everybody's talking about it. We're watching it, but we're holding everything for a special November 1st horror episode where we're going to talk about Haunting of Hill House, Curious Creations of Christine McConnell, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Light as a Feather, and Making a Murderer.
It makes sense to have us talk about horror November 1st.
Look, I don't control the calendar.
You do.
That's right, I do.
Your war on Thanksgiving will not stand.
Listener question time.
Dessert.
As Randy calls it, dessert. So if you guys go to facebook.com/TV Dudes, like our page, and then follow us religiously. Actually, not even just like our page, but make it so that our notifications go to the top of your list every single time we post something. We don't do it that often, but Randy will put up a little question and comments post. You can go there and you can ask us anything you want, something that's just itching at you TV-wise, and we'll try and answer it here on the show.
It's also a fun way to make Grant read things.
Yeah.
I'm semi-literate. I can do this. First question comes to us from Brandon Limmel, who says, looking for a show to quell my Game of Thrones itch. What should I watch?
Shannara Chronicles.
What is wrong with you?
Come on.
You're a monster.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on like what you want. Do you need something that's fantasy? Do you need like large ensemble casts and like political intrigue kind of thing?
Right.
Because I'm like, okay, maybe like something like House of Cards for political intrigue. I mean, if you just want like great, high quality, engaging drama, I would say Westworld.
Yeah, Westworld seems like the obvious fit. Although I think Game of Thrones has a crowd pleasing element that it's hard. Like, I would recommend if you like sort of out there, like high concept, like the show that J.K. Simmons was in, Counterpart, is really interesting. But I think it's weirdly slow paced and not going to maybe fit what Game of Thrones.
Anybody
fans are
else
looking
watch
for.
Into the Badlands?
Into the Badlands is a good thought. Yeah.
Maybe one of those like just great water cooler shows. I'm sure you've seen it already, but I always recommend Stranger Things in case there's one person who hasn't seen it out there.
Sure.
That's one of those that's just so fun, and you can go talk to anyone else about it afterwards. I don't know. Anything else you guys would throw out there?
That's all I could think of. I thought I had an answer for this, but I blanked on whatever it was.
You go back and watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You'll be fine there.
Yep.
All right. Next question comes to us from Jonathan Haft-Michael. What up, Jonathan? He says, hi, dudes. Thanks to current events of the past 1.75 years, Go vote in November, damn it. He also says.
Yes, please fucking vote.
Yeah, okay. We're going to do a quick aside here to say, hey, you guys registered to vote, right? That's one part of it. But also, go to the polls. Early voting is starting all around the
22nd
country in
Texas.
in the next couple weeks. So
Go to votesaveamerica.com. There's all kinds of information there, including ballots.
Oh yeah, you can do a really easy ballot thing, and it'll just you can just say pick this Democrat, this Democrat, this Democrat.
Yeah.
I'm
Not-
not
we're
that
not-
I'm here to tell you who to vote for,
We're not
but
telling you who to vote for. We're just telling
quit-
you not to vote for.
quit killing my kids.
Yes. Yes. Please don't kill my planet. I live here.
Okay, he says many shows have let go of subtlety when it comes to politics. So have
So
podcasts.
have we.
The CW does deserve praise for Nazi punching in Crisis at Earth X and making a more entertaining and less deliberate version of Luke Cage with Black Lightning. However, Supergirl's white feminism, the non-intersectional kind, needs more work than Kara realizing that she should be listening to non-passing aliens about anti-alien sentiment in the season premiere. What shows do you think have improved or at least addressed internal issues by bringing politics into the forefront in the last 2 years? You can bring up new shows that are upfront politically from the start.
We were just talking about it with Paul, but The Good Fight is the one that jumps to mind for me.
Nakedly political,
Yeah.
right?
So when they changed from The Good Wife and they lost, is it Julian Marley's?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
the lead from Good Wife? So
Yeah.
when she moved on, they put
Christine Baranski.
Christine Baranski basically as the lead and brought in Delroy Lindo. But they basically filled that void by just making the show nakedly political. And it's so fun. Like this show gives zero fucks about it and just makes this case of the week like whatever they want to talk about. It's I really love it. I mean, I already liked The Good Wife, and this felt like this could either work or not work, but they still managed to make a really great show while also just not worrying about it. Like they have characters that are openly political about their shit.
I feel like Murphy Brown was hoping to kind of capitalize on this as well.
Yeah.
But personally, I was a little bit too young for the original.
Same, I
wasn't
missed it.
really. Wait, were you?
No, I just missed it. I was old as
Just doing
fuck.
some math real quick. Like, wait,
I was old as fuck, but I missed the show.
I started laughing about that, and then I looked at you, and you weren't smiling. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh wait, am I being a dick?"
No, I don't mean I was too young for it. I mean I didn't watch it.
Right.
I was definitely old.
But I'm trying to think of like other particular shows right now that feel like they're trying to capture the politically vocal zeitgeist, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that too, and I feel like there should be some, but like the most obvious example I can think of is like Roseanne ditching Roseanne,
Yeah.
and that's a big improvement.
I mean, I feel like It's Always Sunny likes to.
Oh, they are doing a ton of stuff on that. Actually.
Yeah, they like to point out like those guys would be terrible MAGA people.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
So
Yeah, they actually did the gang solves the bathroom crisis episode, which was basically them addressing the gender neutral bathroom in their dunderheaded way, and in the same way that they've addressed everything, they are sort of taking on meta arguments using these idiots to make the arguments, and it was well done. I was halfway through before I realized, oh, I get what you guys are doing here.
right. Yeah. I don't know. Other than that, it might be interesting to see how this election cycle goes, and if more shows try to lean in that direction or not. I don't know.
I also do want to mention he talked about the Luke Cage Black Lightning dynamic. I forgot to mention since we were talking Black Lightning, but they did a hallway fight that was better than most of the Marvel hallway fights in this episode.
yeah, I felt like that was
Really?
a gauntlet thrown
Yeah.
down of like, hey, we can do stunt choreography too.
And the fight was
It's really good.
It was really good.
Ah, awesome. Michael Cassini says, "Hey, dudes. Though the Arrowverse has turned into a homogenous mixed bag, it's the side characters that are the things that keep me watching. Ralph Dibny, John Constantine, Heatwave, the new Black Canary, and now Nora West Allen are among my favorites of the supporting cast. My question, if you could make your ideal Legends of Tomorrow-esque CW team, which side characters would you choose as members?"
Ooh.
That's a pretty good. Actually, the lineup he just listed, that's a pretty good lineup. You throw in Harry in that mix. Some version of
Yeah,
Harry
some version of Wells.
Can we get Vibe in there?
and Vibe. Yeah, I would watch that. I'd watch that whole lineup.
Yeah. I also still love Killer Frost.
Yeah.
Yeah, they. I heard the new Black Canary called Laurel to Laurel to Lance the other day, and it's perfect. That's so perfect.
Oh, also, I'd want to bring in Felicity because dragged away from Oliver, she's more interesting.
I still love Jesse Quick.
Oh, Jesse Quick's good, yeah. And steal somebody from the Supergirl, possibly Martian Manhunter, possibly Wynn and support staff. I don't know. A slightly different version where they're not like doing time travel, but it is sort of a team that's being run by some of the non-super characters like Harry and Wynn and I guess Cisco has powers now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to – I wish we could step one thing further. Like Constantine exists and they keep bringing him back. Zatanna's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I want to go like one step off of all these side characters have their own little pocket of people that they call on, and I'd love to see.
Also, I want them to just go ahead and do the Justice League. They've got Flash.
They've done Justice Society.
They've got Flash. They've got Green Arrow. They've got Martian Manhunter. They've got enough people. All they do is bring in like an Aquaman. They can do Supergirl as Superman. And they can do Green Arrow is their Batman and that like just bring in an Aquaman type and you're good.
I mean, they've mentioned that Batman exists and they're about to have a Batwoman.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be the next Crisis next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, what if it didn't have to be constrained to CW characters?
Oh.
If we could take any TV characters and have them jump into the future to try and save humanity.
Like Bull from Night Court.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do we need anyone else?
Right?
Cliff and Norm from Cheers. Jimmy James is bankrolling the whole thing from News Radio.
Oh, man, I so want to see the Jimmy James as Max Lord, like DC Universe.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Someone from Seinfeld. Possibly Newman.
Larry David's, what's his buddy's name that's living in the house with him?
Oh, JB Smoove. Yes.
JB Smoove's
Yes,
character.
JB Smoove for sure. Yeah, the
Step up in the ass, Larry.
the legends of sitcom tomorrow. I like it.
Huel.
Yeah, Huel. Yeah.
Daniel Uvaldo says, Dear TV Dudes, as a Patreon exclusive, would you ever consider doing a Let's Play of the Game of Thrones Telltale game?
Someone explain to me what those words mean.
Would love to see how you guys would do in Westeros. So, Telltale games, they are these choose your own adventure, choose your own path with difficult choices kind of games. So
Are they video games or board games?
they're video games.
Okay.
So you kind of go through these scenarios, and someone's like, oh, you see this dog that's wounded in the woods, like for Walking Dead. Do you kill it with a rock? Do you try and pull an arrow out and see if you can heal it? It's a rabid dog. It might bite
Maybe
you. Like,
Make the wrong choice. You're eaten by a grue.
Yeah.
So my kid watches a lot of Let's Plays on YouTube, and it looks to me like
What is a Let's Play?
Mostly what it is people play a video game and yell dumb shit at it.
Okay.
I do this occasionally over at RageSelect.com. So
I believe the answer is
I literally, other than Game of Thrones, I didn't know what any of those words meant.
Yeah. So I think there's two answers to this. One is the Rage Select guys are more qualified to do this thing for you.
right.
And two is we just did an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. Clearly we will do anything for money.
Yeah. You know what? I do think it would be fun for us to kind of roll the dice and do some sort of like a quiz where we have to make difficult choices and see where that kind of leads us.
Yeah.
We could probably do some online equivalent that's not playing the actual game.
And we are working on a Patreon where we sort of build the TV season in a board game called Untold Adventures Await. We're just trying to find a time to put that together.
Right. That one's going to be fun. Last question comes to us from Jonathan Huffnagel, who says, Dear TV Dudes, you have each purchased a cursed object from a devilish owner of a mysterious antique shop. All of the objects within were formerly the property of superheroes, but have since been cursed for resale. They will give you irreversible superpowers, but will always come with unintended side effects designed to bitter the sweetness of the gifts or possibly even remove something else as payment. All right, Monkey Paw. You may have the power of flight, but when in air, all birds may be drawn to attack you. You may be able to breathe underwater, but lose the ability to breathe above water. The curses are not like Midas's touch, resulting in starvation and death. They're designed to just make the price of power costly. What superpowers would you want to gain, and what ironic or comedic curse side effects would come with them?
Teleportation, but your clothes don't go with you.
Oh. I mean,
So you
I feel
wind
like
up-
that's kind of your kink, though.
You can go anywhere you want, but you arrive with no money, and you're probably going to get arrested.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
What other superpowers?
Super speed, but you're also really lazy and don't like to exercise.
Super speed, but it's actually like running.
Yeah, it's like you feel like you're running a lot, and you're like, fuck that. I'm gonna take a bus.
You can stretch like Mr. Fantastic, like Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four, but it takes like a day to recoup your elasticity.
Invisibility, but you give off a heinous stank while you're invisible.
That
So
one's pretty
people know
solid.
you're there.
It's like, come on, dude. You smell like rotten cabbage. Yeah. I which one would you pick?
Of those?
I mean, I feel like you would gladly do the teleportation.
No, I love the teleportation is the power I want to be able to travel that way. But
You would just like have stuff set up, like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
the
have
smart
a pair of
thing.
You
clothes
just
over
have
here.
to only port to your place. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you have to
Fly
set up a
everywhere
cache.
once.
Yeah, cache. Yeah. That makes sense.
Then you're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fly a bunch of places, teleport home.
One-way flights are cheaper. I like it. Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap things up there. We want to say, once again, a special shout out to Paul Benjamin for coming on and helping us out with this episode. Please go check out his comics at your local comic book shop and, support comics anyway.
I have to say, I would totally fly even if it meant I had to fight birds all the time.
Yeah.
I think I would get
Just be punching them.
real good at like randomly punching birds. Like, what was that? Oh, don't worry about it. What were you saying? Like, I'd be on my Bluetooth just smacking birds flying around.
Flying with a tennis racket in your hand.
That's exactly. Yeah, I think you'd start to figure out like, what do you got to do to get around this?
This guy is murdering a lot of birds. We also want to thank EJ over on patreon.com/TV Dudes. He made a generous donation to the show, and in exchange, this episode is dedicated to him. And he made us suffer a little bit.
A little bit?
Or at least made Randy suffer, because Randy does his homework. Folks, we will be back next week to talk about a bunch of other great shows that, they just keep dropping. I know there's Daredevil on the list and a few others.
What are the great shows?
I don't know actually what great shows are. Daredevil could be good.
It could.
I don't know. That trailer was good.
I am terrified, honestly, that they're going to ruin Karen this season because of what happens to
yeah.
her in the comics.
Right.
Even though it won't be like that, I'm really scared they're going to ruin her.
Oh, Bullseye would probably, dude.
You know what though? Here's the thing. There's a new Matt Weiner show, and there's a new Lena Dunham show, which I know you guys will be psyched about. I won't be here next week.
Oh, great. All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Sans Randy. We'll see how this goes.
See you, suckers. TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TV Dudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.